The final weekend of October doubles as a prime moment to reset before the 2023 college football season ends in a flurry. After some massive games and a few upsets, the number of unbeaten power conference teams has dwindled to 6. They are officially the front runners in the race for the college football playoff. This week, none of them are playing a top 25 opponent. In fact, Saturday includes only 2 matchups of ranked teams. That isn't to say it'll be a drama-free slate. Look no further than Virginia's startling win at North Carolina last week for evidence of a completely unexpected result. This is, nevertheless, the kind of weekend that sets up thrilling races in the closing month of the regular season. Hello and good evening, friends, and welcome to the Week 9 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are maybe awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him back with us tomorrow night for NFL Friday. Big week this week, because after this week, I believe this Tuesday will be the unveiling of the first college football playoff rankings. And when we get to that point, you damn sure know business going to pick up. So, but anyways, let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right on in. We got 3 noon games starting us off, and we're going to start it off with the number 4, Florida State Seminoles on the road against the Wake Forest Demon Deacons from a Legacy Federal Credit Union Stadium in Winston-Salem. You can find this game over on, I believe it's ABC. And on the call for this one, yep, it's ABC. And on the call for that one will be Bob Wischusen, Robert Griffin III, and Chris Budden. Florida State opening up as a 20.5-point favorite. Not much to say on this one. Did the Seminoles already have that inevitable bizarre day on the road against an unranked team when it clipped Boston College? Or is another one coming? Wake Forest is just 1-3 in ACC action. So Florida State shouldn't have much of a problem, which is exactly why this contest might be full of them. I could see Wake giving them fits, but I think Florida State will eke it out here. 31-24, the Florida State Seminoles defeat the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Not going to be an easy one. So maybe a trap game. Who knows? But not much more to say on this. So MF, Week 9 kicks off. Number 4, Florida State at Wake Forest. Potential trap game here.
Could be a potential trap game, no doubt about it. But I kind of feel like you feel. Florida State right now is one of the, if you play it all the way to the very end, they could be one of the top 4 teams at the end playing for the national championship. And they just got to win out, continue what they're doing, continue to play the way that they played. They had one major scare that was against Clemson earlier in the season, but they got through that. In a way, they did have a little bit of a rough time with Duke. But at the end, they were able to pull away. They got the job done. I feel like this is one of those type of games where it looks like maybe they dominate early, but I do believe that they'll get the job done. It could get interesting middle of the game, but Florida State, I just feel like has enough of the horses to get there to the end and win this battle. So I got Florida State as well. Anthony, next game.
Which you will be starting off on, MF. We go to the number 6, Oklahoma Sooners, and they will be on the road against the Kansas Jayhawks. From David Booth, I just want to get this name once again. It is David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas, and this game will be on Fox. It's big noon Saturday on Fox, but believe it or not, it's not the usual announced team. Believe it or not, it's a different crew. Jason Benetti, Brock Heward, and Allison Williams on the call for that one. Oklahoma opening up as a 9.5-point favorite. So, MF, theme of this. Oh, I know we've only just started the show, but if this isn't a trap game, tell me what is. This is a trap game for Oklahoma. Kansas, not as bad as you think. They're a lot better. They're 5-2.
Yeah, they've been playing some really good games up to this point. I think the biggest criticism, I know that a lot of people are going to be criticizing Kansas, is who have they really beaten up to this point? That's going to be the big question because Oklahoma had everybody not really respecting them early in the year. Of course, that big game against Texas, they beat them, and a lot of people started noticing Oklahoma. Now Kansas, 5-2, like we said, hasn't really had a signature win yet. So that's why I think a lot of people are thinking Oklahoma is going to win. Even the odds makers kind of felt the same way, thinking Oklahoma should not have a problem with Kansas. Kansas is going to make it a game. They're going to make threat early on, but at the end, I do believe they'll get the job done, and I do believe that Oklahoma should get the job in this one and get the victory and continue on their march towards Dallas, or I should say Arlington, as they're prepping to fight for the Big 12 title. So who knows? We'll wait and see what happens. Anthony, it's yours.
Jason Bean is a serviceable starter, but Kansas certainly misses dual threat standout Jalon Daniels. Both losses have come in his absence, and Daniels is viewed as unlikely to play for the fourth straight game. Oklahoma keeps its winning streak alive. Kansas, I do believe this Kansas team will give Oklahoma fits. I wouldn't be surprised if this game ends up being close into the fourth quarter, but then I see Oklahoma pulling away with a late score. So 41-28, Oklahoma gets by Kansas. Final high noon game featuring the number 10 Penn State Nittany Lions at home at Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley, hosting the Indiana Hoosiers. First half of a doubleheader on CBS. The mothership has this one. It'll be Tom McCarthy, Jason McCourty, and Tiffany Blackman on the call. And Penn State opening up as a 32.5-point favorite. No question about this one here. The lack of explosiveness from Penn State's passing game dragged down the Nittany Lions in the loss at Ohio State. The good news, though, is Indiana ranks 103rd nationally in yards allowed per carry. Penn State's strength will be back on display this weekend. Penn State, get right game. They'll bounce back. Easy win, 37-10. Penn State all over Indiana. So not much more to say. MF, the best remedy for a gut-wrenching loss to a superior team, like with Penn State losing to Ohio State last week. Nothing like having a get right game against a meh team. So MF, your thoughts as Penn State looks to bounce back against Indiana after that gut-wrenching loss against Ohio State.
Yeah, and the thing is, Penn State kind of hung in there. They played really good. They had everything going their way. They started out fine. They just ran out of gas at the end, and that was a devastating loss for them. I think a lot of people kind of felt the same way. Penn State will bounce back. This should be one of those type of games where they should be able to dominate early on and get the job done. I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, can they really play, that their brand of football against an Indiana team? I kind of feel like they'll probably start out early but I think they'll get the victory. So that's why I'm not as worried about it. So yeah, Penn State should win and win pretty comfortably. So Anthony, it's yours.
All right, MF, we're on to the 3:30 games. We have 5 of them. And we started off with one of the games of the week right here. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. The number 1 reigning, defending, undisputed, back-to-back college football playoff national champion, Maiden Georgia Bulldogs, squaring off against the Florida Gators, TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. On CBS, it's the SEC on CBS. You already know who's working it. Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, Jenny Dell. Georgia opening up as a 14.5-point favorite. All right, MF, Georgia and Florida, world's largest outdoor cocktail party 2023.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Big matchup, big game feel as always. This is one of those rivalry games that we always get amped up about when it always happens. But at the end of this one, Georgia wins. I just feel like Georgia is gonna be that team. They're gonna get the job done. I'm not as overly nervous about that game. So yeah, I do believe it will be Georgia winning this one, and they will remain undefeated and well on their way to once again trying to make it back to back to back national championships. So the road will get better, and I do believe they'll win this one. So Anthony, it's yours.
The annual clash in Jacksonville brings an unfamiliar outlook for Georgia, which is preparing for its first game without their star tight end, Brock Bowers, with an ankle injury. The bright side for Georgia is that its defense should be the best unit on the field. However, an offense that has started slowly for much of 2023 likely won't be better as a shorthanded group. Close game. I believe this will be a close game. And but I think Georgia will find a way to win this one. I think Georgia will eke it out. Final score for me, I'm going to say 27-20. Georgia gets by Florida. Should be a fun game. It almost always is. So moving on to the next 3:30 game, the number 7 Texas Longhorns back at home at Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium in Austin, and they're going to be welcoming the BYU Cougars. And you can find this game over on ABC. And on the call for this one will be, hang on one moment here. I just got to move my froze on me. All right, hang on. Nice. Okay. Oh, that's very
what
weird.
were you talking about, King?
What
happened?
My apologies. My screen froze, so it was a frozen screen.
Oh, that's not.
Yeah. My apologies for all those dings that you heard. All right, I got the announcers now. It's Dave Pax, Dusty Dvoracek, and Tom Luganville. They will be on the call for BYU in Texas. Texas opening up as a 19.5-point favorite. All right, so here we go. Arch Manning watch has begun, although Texas is expected to start Malik Murphy for the injured Quinn Ewers, who's nursing a shoulder injury right now. The bigger story, however, is that Texas should be able to silence a limited BYU offense. Despite the Cougars' record, they barely gain 300 yards a game. Texas wins. My final score, 33-16. Texas defeats BYU. So not much more to say here. MF, Texas at home against BYU. I like Texas's chances, even though their star quarterback is injured. But I think Texas will be fine.
Texas should be okay. They got a stout defense. I think the offensive is going to be a little more of a different situation. But I'm pretty sure that they'll get the job done. So I'm not really too worried here. Texas should be able to win it. Anthony, back to you.
MF, are you ready for the game of the week?
Let's do it.
Here it comes. Here it comes. The game of the week for week number 9 in college football. Huge game in the Pac-12. Huge Pac-12 implications in this one. 3:30 game over on Fox. The number 8 Oregon Ducks squaring off against the number 13 Utah Utes. Rice-Eccles Stadium, Salt Lake City. And on the call for this one, Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, and the All-American girl Jenny Taft. Oregon opening up as a 6.5-point favorite. MF, game of the week, massive Pac-12 implications in this one.
With Utah, everything has been up and down. You never really know what they're going to be giving you. For Oregon, they had a couple of major tests not too long ago. The first major test was against Colorado, and Colorado was on the hype train. They knocked them off that hype train and knocked them right out, like domination. Then they had another big fight, and this was the big one against Washington, and got their hearts broken at the end to lose. Now, another big fight, another big battle. If they win this one, this puts them firmly in control. They control their own destiny. At least when it comes to the Pac 12, they'll control their own destiny. I do believe at the end, this is going to be a close fight, a great fight, a battle for the ages. But I kind of feel like that Oregon, whenever they got thrown into these big fights, they know how to answer the bell. They know how to answer the call. I feel like this is that moment for them. Yes, Utah is a really good team. They really are. But I kind of feel like this is Oregon's moment, man. I think they're gonna continue it and they're gonna win. So give me Oregon to win it. Anthony, it's yours.
Oregon may have the perfect balance to counter whatever Utah offers inside Rice-Eccles Stadium. Bo Nix's experience might be the most important factor to leaving Salt Lake City with playoff hopes still intact. Bo Nix battled through a tough game at home against the Utah defense last season. The Utes scored 14 third-quarter points before Nix led a drive that resulted in a game-winning field goal in the fourth quarter. The valuable experience gained by Nix should prepare him for what to expect on Saturday. Utah may not be able to match Oregon's explosiveness on offense, especially if the Ducks are disciplined on defense. The Utes earned their upset win over USC last week, thanks in part to a porous Trojans defense that could not contain Bryson Barnes. The Ducks will force Barnes to beat them through the air. They gave up 57 yards on 22 carries in their Week 8 win over the Washington State Cougars and allowed 95.1 rushing yards a game. Barnes only eclipsed the 200-yard mark through the air last week. He ran for over 50 yards in each of the last two games. Oregon can take away Barnes' threat on the ground, and it can force him into mistakes through the air. After all, we are talking about a quarterback with a 58.4 completion percentage. A solid game from Nix in the pocket combined with a ton of pressure on the Utah passing game should help Oregon move into November with its playoff aspirations still alive. Utah has found adventurous ways to win all season. Frankly, this one would be the most impressive one because of Oregon's balance. The offense is dynamic, and the defense, while not consistently great, has strong performances. I'll take the Ducks, but they desperately need to avoid a low-scoring game against Utah's defense on the road. 29-17, Utah, or I should say Oregon, defeats Utah. I got Oregon winning this game. So 29-17, Oregon defeats Utah. Next up, my team, the number 14 Notre Dame Fighting Irish, back at home at Notre Dame Stadium, back from their bye week, and they will be hosting the Pittsburgh Panthers. Notre Dame football on NBC. Jack Collinsworth, Jason Garrett, Zora Stevenson will have the call. Notre Dame opening up as a 20.5-point favorite. Pitt conjured up its classic out-of-nowhere miracle to upset Louisville 2 weeks ago. Repeating the feat in South Bend would be quite the trick. But Notre Dame's defense should own the day. So, and let's not forget, Notre Dame coming off a massive win against USC themselves, where they literally ran them out of Notre Dame Stadium, much to the delight of myself and our dear friend Brian Keenan. So 38-13, Notre Dame over Pittsburgh. So I got a good feeling about this one. So there isn't much more to say. MF, Notre Dame coming off the bye week, back at home at Notre Dame Stadium, coming off that massive win against USC 2 weeks ago. Can they keep that momentum going? I think they can.
I'm pretty sure that they can. I mean, Notre Dame had, like you said, one of the bigger moments in college, coming off the big win over USC. Now they're trying to continue on their path. They're going to need a lot of help along the way to get to the college football playoff. However, a New Year's Six Bowl is not out of the realm of discussion for Notre Dame. I think if they kind of continue the way that they're at, I think there is actually a path for Notre Dame to at least get into a New Year's Six. So I do believe Notre Dame will continue that path. I think they'll get the victory. And Anthony, it's back to you.
All right, MF, and we move on to our final 3:30 game, and this is our de facto number 2 game of the week because it's the only other matchup that has ranked teams. Big one in the ACC, as it will feature the number 18 Louisville Cardinals at home at L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky, and they're going to be hosting the number 20 Duke Blue Devils on ESPN. And on the call for this game, on the call for this one will be Sean McDonough, Greg McElroy, and Molly McGrath. And Louisville opening up as a 4.5-point favorite in this one. So MF, number 2 game of the week, number 20 Duke, number 18 Louisville, big game in the ACC.
Yeah, big game in the ACC, no doubt about it. And the thing is, Duke has been one of the Cinderellas of college football this year. They've been doing really well. They kind of had a great moment at the very beginning, but then all of a sudden, everything kind of went a little sideways. You know, that bad loss to Florida State kind of hurt their momentum. Louisville has actually been flying under the radar. Not many people's been following Louisville all season long. They are a pretty good team. They have had a couple of cool moments. As a matter of fact, I believe Louisville knocked off Notre Dame not too long ago. Earlier in the year.
Yes,
they did. So that was a massive win for them. That kind of was like I'll even call it a season-defining moment for Louisville. And now they're going up against.
But then they laid an egg against Pittsburgh.
Very well. Yes. But I will say this. I do believe Louisville will get the win here. It's going to be a hard game, but I do believe that they'll win it. So nothing more to say. Louisville wins, and Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be Louisville. I'm torn on this one. Honestly, I'm a little torn. Riley Leonard returned last week against Florida State, but aggravated his ankle injury, keeping his availability in flux. I'll anticipate that the dual threat quarterback will play, though, and he could propel the Blue Devils past a fascinating, reasonably erratic Louisville team. But out of all of them, this is one of the tough ones here. It's not often that I'm torn on certain games, but this one I definitely am, because this one literally can go either way. So, yep. All right. Duke comes into week 9 with a big question at quarterback. Riley Leonard left the loss to the Florida State Seminoles in the second half, and then everything fell apart for the Blue Devils. Duke owns a win without Leonard from 2 weeks ago against the NC State Wolfpack, but Louisville carries more quality on its roster. The Cardinals are one of the most surprising teams in the FBS. They are one of 4 ACC teams with 1 conference loss, jockeying for second place and the chance to play Florida State in the ACC championship game. Louisville is in that position because of a 17-point road loss to the Pittsburgh Panthers in week 7 that occurred 1 week after an emotional win over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The Cardinals must rediscover the form displayed in the victory over Notre Dame in their previous 5 wins. Quarterback Jack Plummer must avoid mistakes against a tough Duke defense. He has 8 interceptions and has been sacked on 15 occasions. Louisville needs Plummer to avoid those mistakes at home to outplay a Duke team that could be without Leonard. Leonard's status has yet to be determined, but even if he plays, he will not be at 100%, as we saw against Florida State. Duke backup Henry Boleyn the fourth had 2 touchdown passes against NC State, but he only completed 4 of his 12 passes in that win. Louisville can get to Beelan in the pocket if he starts, and Duke's potential inability to move the ball on offense could be the ultimate difference maker on Saturday. So with that, I'm going to go with Louisville in this one. 23-20. That's going to be my final in that one. So 23-20, Louisville beats Duke, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Dukies were to steal one. It's not often we get 2 4 o'clock games here, but we do have 2 4 o'clock games here in our next window here. As we will move on to the now number 22 Tulane Green Wave, and they will be on the road against the Rice Owls from the legendary Rice Stadium in Houston, Texas. You remember Rice Stadium back in the early years of the Super Bowl hosted some Super Bowls in the past. So that's the story in that one. I'm sorry, I was thinking of another football stadium, but I think I was thinking more of Tulane Stadium, honestly, the old school Tulane Stadium. But it's Rice Stadium in Houston, Texas for Tulane squaring off against Rice. ESPN2, 4 o'clock kickoff. That's where you can find the game, ESPN2. And on the call for that game will be Drew Carter, Brock Osweiler, and Caleb Burton. And Tulane opening up as a 10.5-point favorite. After falling to then winless UConn, Rice smoked and smashed Tulsa on the road. So which team is Tulane getting? I am unsurprisingly inclined to trust the Green Wave and its steady, balanced offense. Tulane's secondary has been average lately, however, and Rice's quarterback is one-time prized recruit JT Daniels. This might not be a comfortable game for Tulane, another potential trap game. However, I got Tulane winning it. I think Tulane will eke it out. They'll steal one at Rice Stadium. So 29-24, Tulane gets by Rice. So MF, sleeper game of the week, Tulane and Rice.
Agreed. I believe Tulane is going to win the game as well. It's not going to be an easy one, but I do believe they'll get the job done here. So, yeah, I'm with you on this one. Tulane wins, and Anthony, back to you.
All right. And the other 4 o'clock game over in the Pac-12, and it will feature the now number 24 USC Trojans, and they will be squaring off against the California Golden Bears from California Memorial Stadium in Berkeley. You can find this game over on the Pac-12 network, and Ted Robinson and Yogi Roth will have the call for the Pac-12 network. And USC also, just like Tulane, USC also opening up as a 10.5-point favorite. So MF, I mean, a few weeks ago, USC was riding high. You know, they were looking like a potential team to beat. Caleb Williams picking up right where he left off from his Heisman season of last year. Then they ran into Notre Dame. Notre Dame literally ran them out of Notre Dame Stadium. And then those pesky Utah Utes got them again, stole one in the Coliseum. What does USC have to do to get back on track against Cal?
They just got to go back to the fundamentals. Caleb Williams is going to have to play better than he has. You know, he went from being Heisman Trophy favorite to now he's out of the picture. At least in my eyes, he's out of the picture. I don't even think he's even I don't even think he gets the call to New York for the Heisman Trophy if that happens. So at the end, I do believe that USC will win this game. They'll bounce back. They need to bounce back. This is a must-win for them more than any other game, and I think they'll get it. California, not that great of a squad, so this is the perfect get-right game for the Trojans, and I do believe they'll get it done. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right. Let's find it here. Okay. The notion that Caleb Williams should sit the remainder of this season because USC is likely out of the college football playoff race is total nonsense. USC is still a threat to win the Pac-12, and the Trojans will remain soundly in the chase with a bounce-back, get-right victory at Cal. 37-24, USC over Cal. Primetime games now. We have, we go to the 7 o'clock games here. We got 3 of them. So let's dive on into these 3 7 o'clock matchups, starting with the number 5 Washington Huskies on the road against the Stanford Cardinal. You can find this game on, and that will be, of course, at the legendary Stanford Stadium in Palo Alto. FS1 is where the game will be broadcast, and for the call will be Tim Brando, the legendary Tim Brando and Spencer Tillman. Washington opening up as a 27.5-point favorite. MF, I believe we start this one off with you here. So Washington and Stanford in the Pac-12. Washington, of course, controlling their own destiny. They lead the Pac-12 right now. And MF, they go to Stanford, and a chance for them to, keep their stranglehold on the Pac-12. They're leading it right now, and they got a winnable game here and a chance to, keep improving their odds of getting to Las Vegas in the Pac-12 championships. So, just give me one moment here. Oh, actually, I start this one off. I'm sorry. That's because I believe that MF started the last one, the USC and Cal. So, all right, I'm glad I caught that. If I seem like my mind is a little elsewhere, of course, my Buffalo Bills are playing right now. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on that. I'm multitasking, if you will. So, all right, let me get into this one here with UW and Stanford here. Okay. Washington has now sandwiched a critical win over Oregon between rough days against Arizona and Arizona State. Which version of the Huskies shows up in Palo Alto? I would like to think it's the overpowering one, especially since Stanford has yielded 42-plus points in 3 straight games. Make it 4. Washington, easy win, 45-17. Washington all over Stanford. So there isn't much more to say. MF, Washington leads the Pac-12, and after Saturday, they'll stay there. Easy win coming.
Maybe, but then again, we said that about Colorado and Stanford, and we all know how that played out. I say Washington will win. I think they'll handle their business, and I think it'll be an easy victory for them. But any given Saturday, any given Sunday, you should know this better than anybody else, Florio. Any team can get caught. Like we said, we thought Colorado came out, looked like they were going to stomp Stanford, and then Stanford came back from 29 down and won. So obviously the danger is there, but I think Washington should have no problem with this victory. So yes, Anthony, it's yours.
All right, next 7:00 game that now MF will start, and it features right now maybe the Cinderella story of college football right now. The number 19 Air Force Falcons. Yes, and they're going to be on the road against the Rams of Colorado State from Canvas Stadium in Fort Collins, Colorado. You can find this game over on the CBS Sports Network with a 7:00 kickoff. And on the call for this game will be Rich Waltz, Aaron Taylor, and Brandon Baylor. And Air Force opening up as a 14-point favorite, 2-touchdown spread for Air Force. So, MF, there is no question about it. Air Force right now, every win pushes them that closer to a dream season. This is literally a one small step for man, one giant leap for the Air Force as they pursue a New Year's Six bowl. They're on the cusp of it.
If anybody wants to know how these rules go about this non-Power 5 and how they decide who gets in for the New Year's Six, you got to be ranked in the top 15 at the end of the season. The highest ranked of the non-Power 5 gets an invite into the New Year's Six bowls. And this right now would be Air Force. Air Force is actually on the path that if they win out, will be the representative of the non-Power 5 to be a part of the New Year's Six fun. And let me tell you, if Air Force does get there, the ramifications is massive. We're talking about a possible, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the rumors I always hear is that for a non-Power 5, that the payday is somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 30 million dollars for the school to get that they get thanks to the NCAA. So if you're Air Force, you're thinking right now, hey, we just knocked off Navy. Obviously, we got to beat the Army. If we beat Army, we have cemented and captured the Commander-in-Chief trophy. That's one thing. Then to continue on your path to possibly get a New Year's Six, dude, it is a historic moment for them. And yeah, I do believe it. Air Force, I got them winning this game as well. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
MF, as I just mentioned, one small step for man, one giant leap for Air Force's pursuit of a New Year's Six bowl. In seriousness, every win pushes the Falcons a little bit closer to a dream season. Air Force needs, and I can't stress it enough, they need to contain Colorado State's aerial attack. Wide receiver Torrey Horton and tight end Dallin Hooker are a superb 1-2 punch, but should be able to wear down the hosts. I think Air Force will escape, but don't sleep on Colorado State. Remember, Colorado State took Colorado to the limits in one of the games of the year in college football this season. So, but I think Air Force pulls it out. I think they'll steal one here in Fort Collins. So 28-23, give me the Air Force. I believe in the Air Force. So, you know me and how much I love these Cinderella stories, a la Boise State or a Tulane or what have you. But this would be so awesome if the Air Force can, keep this thing going. So 28-23, Air Force wins. Final 7:00 game. And it's a big game in the SEC here. Good battle here. The number 21 Tennessee Volunteers on the road against the Kentucky Wildcats from Kroger Field in Lexington, Kentucky. The SEC Saturday night game of the week on ESPN. And on the call for this one will be Mike Monaco, Jesse Palmer, and Katie George. Tennessee opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. I believe that's the smallest spread of the week, unless I see another spread smaller. If Kentucky wins, well, don't be surprised because their home field advantage is real. But it's hard to justify trusting a Kentucky passing game that has been terrible lately. Tennessee should be able to grind out a quality road win. 23-16, Tennessee. I believe they can steal one in Kentucky. But if Kentucky were to steal this one at home, I would not at all be surprised. Because hey, remember, I had the cojones to go with them against I believe it was Florida, and look what happened. So you never know. But I got to go with Tennessee here. I think they'll leak it out. I'm gonna say 23-16. Tennessee steals one in Kentucky. So MF. This right here, literally a trap game for Tennessee, if there ever was one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Kentucky is a wagon, man. I mean, Tennessee got to watch themselves. Plus, this is a rivalry game. I know a lot of people don't think about it as a rivalry game, but trust me, in the SEC, Kentucky and Tennessee, there's a little bit of some bad blood. It's not the biggest rivalry, so obviously it's not like Notre Dame USC. It's not like, Alabama Georgia. It's not like the cocktail party, or it's not like Ohio State and Michigan. Those are bigger rivalries than anything. But this is one of those in-conference rivals that when these two teams get it on, it's always an exciting game. There's some bad blood. Tennessee has been dominating this series for the last few years, but Kentucky is definitely more peskier. They're getting better by the year. This is a lot more of a trickier game than in other years, because everybody would be like, Tennessee get this easy, they'll steamroll them. Not this time around. For the last couple of years, Kentucky's really been pushing Tennessee to the limits, and I believe they actually beat them, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. So we'll see how it plays out. It's a trap game. I think Tennessee will pass it, but it ain't going to be an easy victory. So, Florio, it's yours.
All right, MF. We got the first of 3 7:30 games to get into, and we move on to MF, something that you have taken a major liking to, that is becoming that has slowly become a favorite of yours as of late. Big Ten Saturday night on NBC. It's their game of the week, and we got a good one here. The number 3 Ohio State Buckeyes on the road against the Wisconsin Badgers. Camp Randall Stadium, Madison, Wisconsin, on NBC. And you know who's working this one? Noah Eagle, Todd Blackledge, and Catherine Tappan. Ohio State opening up as a 14.5-point favorite. So here you go, MF. Ohio State, Wisconsin, Big Ten, Saturday night on NBC. Good one here.
This is going to be a good one here. And normally, Ohio State has had a big win. They've been continuing their march and everything else. Obviously, the world is ready, and they're waiting for that big one. They want the big one between Michigan and Ohio State at the Big House. We know it's coming. As long as these two teams are still on that course, and it looks like they are on that collision course, that's going to be the big one. So I think Ohio State is going to win it. There's really nothing more to say. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Yes, indeed. Big time implications in the Big Ten in this one. No question about it. Wisconsin has averaged a modest 23 points against Power 5 competition. As loud an environment as Camp Randall can and will be, the Badgers likely would need to hold Ohio State to 17 points for a legitimate shot at an upset. They may be close, but not close enough. I can see it being close into the fourth quarter, but I think Ohio State will pull away with a late score. 23-13, Ohio State gets by Wisconsin at Camp Randall. Next 7:30 game, it will feature the number 12 Ole Miss Rebels. They will be back at home at Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi, and they will be welcoming the Vanderbilt Commodores. And this game can be found over on the SEC Network with Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, and Cole Kubelik. Ole Miss opening up as a 24.5-point favorite. Oh, went a little too far. Okay. So far this season, Vanderbilt has been within 2 scores of Kentucky, Missouri, and Georgia during the fourth quarter. That isn't meaningless. However, the Commodores also dropped each of those SEC games by 17 points. Ole Miss might not be headed for a blowout win, but the Rebels are a clear favorite here. Ole Miss wins 39-23, Ole Miss over Vanderbilt. So not much more to say here. MF, your thoughts?
Forgive me, I had to step away. What was the game again, Florio?
No worries, MF. Number 12, Ole Miss at home against Vanderbilt on the SEC Network. Ole Miss a 24.5.
Gotcha. The minute you told me Vanderbilt, I think we all know how this plays out. There's no argument here. Ole Miss should win this one. They'll win this one going away. This should be it. I know there's we don't really call locks of the week, but this practically would be the lock of the week, at least in our eyes. So at least for the college, this is the lock of the week. So Florio, back to you.
Oh, most definitely agreed. So with that being said, MF, we move on to the ABC Saturday night game of the week to round out the 7:30 action. the number 23 UCLA Bruins back at home in your favorite MF, the Rose Bowl, the legendary Rose Bowl, Pasadena. And who are they welcoming? Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes.
Yo!
ABC Saturday night game of the week. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe on the call. UCLA opening up as a 16.5-point favorite. So MF, Coach Prime, and Colorado heading to the legendary Rose Bowl.
Yeah, and this is one of those games where I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, can Colorado hang? They haven't had the big success that they were supposed to have early in the year. Look, UCLA knows how to play in that stadium. This is home turf for them. So could this be an interesting matchup? Absolutely. I kind of feel like it's gonna be one of those type of dog fights. Would I be stunned if Colorado wins? No, but I will say that I do believe that UCLA should win this game. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a dominating performance. But I kind of feel like this could be one of those 1-score to 2-score type games, but I got UCLA winning. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Indeed. And Colorado's shaky offensive line is a major concern opposite a strong UCLA defense. Save for giving up 36 points in a loss at Oregon State, the Bruins have limited 6 opponents to 17 or less. Colorado is very much a mercurial team, though, so an upset would not be surprising, but I think UCLA will eke it out. UCLA wins. My final score, 31-23. UCLA defeats Colorado in the Rose, hangs on in the Rose Bowl. So with that, we move on. 3 games left, and 2 of them are 8:00 kickoffs. And we started off with the number 17, the now number 17, North Carolina Tar Heels on the road against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets from Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. This game will be on the ACC network. And on the call for this game will be Wes Durham, Tim Hasselbeck, and Taylor Tannenbaum. North Carolina opening up as an 11.5-point favorite. So, all right. Oh, went a little over. Okay. After a horrendous loss to one-win Virginia, North Carolina remains in the thick of the ACC hunt. Georgia Tech ranks 125th out of 133 teams in yards allowed per snap. So this is a lopsided game on paper. But hey, we all thought Virginia had basically no chance last week. Still, you would think North Carolina won't be taking anything for granted. I got North Carolina winning this game. I think they'll bounce back. 41-24. North Carolina bounces back, gets it right, defeats Georgia Tech in Atlanta on Saturday night. So not much more to say here. MF, what was that for North Carolina? You lose at home to a dud Virginia team?
Here's the thing, Anthony. Any given Saturday, they played down to their competition. They thought that they were going to get an easy victory. They were thinking that they were going to dominate. They thought that they were going to do everything that they were going to do. And they thought they were going to blow them out. And they got stomped. They got embarrassed. They got humiliated. They got, they deserve to lose that game. I'm sorry. They did. So at the end of the day, I think Carolina will get right, and this is a get right game, and they'll get it right, and they'll win the game. So North Carolina wins. Florio, it's yours.
All right, 2 games left. The other 8:00 game. Okay, MF, here we go. How about this? I cannot believe we're actually calling on this team right here and now. As we have a brand new entrant into the top 25. Welcome to the top 25, the number 25, James Madison Dukes. And they will be at home at Bridgeforth Stadium in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And they're going to be hosting the Monarchs of Old Dominion. And this game will be over on ESPN University. And on the call for this game will be, if I can find it here, Taylor Zarzar and Dustin Fox and James Madison opening up as a 20.5 point favorite. So, MF, do I start this one or do you start this one?
This one, I believe, is yours, Florio.
It goes to me. Okay. Yeah, because I think I set you up for the North Carolina game. Okay. James Madison kicks off an absolute gauntlet down the stretch for Old Dominion, which is tantalizingly close to bowl eligibility, but may fall short. James Madison leads the country in tackles for loss, while Old Dominion is tied for 111th in tackles for loss allowed a game. That difference up front should be decisive. James Madison wins. Final score 34-17. MF, give it up for James Madison cracking the top 25 party.
Yeah, no, always good to get a new team in there. The one that's not very common that we normally would see. So I mean, yeah, I mean, great for James Madison. And the thing is that remember, this is one of those non-power five that we're talking about. If Air Force does falter, this is a team that could find their way into that New Year's Six. So as a James Madison fan, if you want to be a James Madison fan, if you're rooting for them, you gotta continue to win your games. You gotta continue to do what you're doing, finish out your season, and then hopefully and pray that because right now I think the team that is in position to be the non-Power 5 representative is Air Force. They would need Air Force at some point to get tripped up. That's exactly what you would need. And then from there, then you just got to win your games out. If there's a conference title game, you got to win that. And if you do that, that might get you, in the eyes of the committee, the golden ticket to play in the New Year's Six. If they get in, well, by all means, all bets are off. You know how that goes. So, I think James Madison will get the job done. They'll keep the winning ways. That 20.5 points is a very telling, because that means Vegas, the bookies, the smart books, they like James Madison. They feel like there's something there with this team that's gonna be that's why they kind of feel like they're in a good spot. So go with it. Go with James Madison for this game. So Florio, it's yours.
Final game of the night, and it features the number 11 Oregon State Beavers on the road against the Arizona Wildcats from Arizona Stadium in Tucson, Arizona. 10:30 p.m. kickoff, Pac-12 After Dark on ESPN, with Brian Custer, Rod Gilmore, and Lauren Sisler. Actually, this is the smallest spread of the week. Oregon State opening up as only a 3-point favorite. OMF, here comes another trap game. Oregon State against Arizona. Remember what Arizona did to Wazoo a few weeks ago?
Yeah, they did, and trust me, I think a lot of people has not forgotten what Arizona did to Wazoo. So no doubt about it. Look, do I think it's possible that we could get an upset here? Absolutely, yes, indeed. And I feel like this is one of those there where Oregon State, they've been inconsistent. They've been up and down, up and down, up and down. And you're going to Arizona. Arizona plays really well at home. You know what? The hell with it. I'm calling it upset. I'm going Arizona to stun Oregon State and to win the game. I'll say about a touchdown. I'll say they'll win by a touchdown. They'll get the victory, and from there, yeah, nothing more to say. Florio, you got final say tonight.
I mean, what is going on with the Pac-12? I mean, Washington and USC both survived close games against Arizona and Arizona State, and Arizona walloped Washington State. There's some strange vibes hanging around their opponents. So this is my unscientific analysis. Watch yourself, Oregon State. You know what, MF? I agree. I'm going to call for the upset as well. I say Arizona does it. 34-27. Arizona knocks off Oregon's. Arizona defeats Oregon State 34-27. So with that will put the bow on this Week 9 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in, as always. We'll be back with you again tomorrow night, 10 p.m., immediately following SmackDown, right back here on the Tone 25 for the Week 8 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday, as we will recap Thursday Night Football, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills. We'll also preview the remaining games of Week number 8. And then from there, Saturday night, 10:30, MF, Braves Fan 95, Cerebral Smack Talk, Friday night, SmackDown, and AEW Collision. Monday night, we got Ridiculously Raw, Crown Jewel Week, as I'll be taking the reins for Ridiculously Raw, Monday Night Raw. Condensed Tony's take here, because Impact Wrestling tonight, believe it or not, aired a Best of Bound for Glory edition of the show. We had no action on this show, no wrestling on this show. So it was basically a 2-hour, you could call it somewhat of a recap, if you will, of Bound for Glory, even though they did show some of the best matches from that show in their entirety. So I will not be reviewing Impact Wrestling in my Tony's take. It will only be NXT Level Up. So little disclaimer there. Wednesday night, we have Wednesday Night Madness, 10 p.m. MF will have it following AEW Dynamite. We'll have NXT, Week 2 of Halloween Havoc. We'll have AEW Dynamite. And then we'll preview next Thursday Night Football matchup featuring the Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's the Amazon game next week. And then 1 week from tonight, the Week 10 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday. Not the most exciting of weeks, but we do have some decent matchups, some sleeper matchups. We got Ohio State against Rutgers. We got Texas A&M against Ole Miss. Notre Dame against Clemson. We got Bedlam, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Another game MF and I love a lot. Missouri against Georgia. There we go. And then from there, the primetime games next week, we got some great ones. I think I found the game of the week next week. LSU and Alabama next week. Ooh. We've also got Washington against USC. We got Oregon State against Colorado and UCLA against Arizona, just to name a few. And yes, Michigan will be back next week. And I'll let the cat out of the bag. MF, Michigan's going to be on the Big Ten Saturday night on NBC. So in the big house. So there you go. That's all next week, the Week 10 edition. And I know we're going to be going by college football playoff rankings, because remember, the first college football playoff rankings are unveiled this Tuesday night. So happy Halloween. So there you go. So with that, that'll put the bow on this. So until tomorrow night for the Week 8 edition of NFL Friday, this is Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, of course, Michael Bullock, and of course, always and forever, the First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday, and until tomorrow night for NFL Friday, you've been watching the Week 9 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and Streamio.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody. Bye.